crossing the 50-yard line. He has no one to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Otterbein.
Good snap, good hold. The kick is up from Gaither, and it is good. Takes the give to Rudolph. Sizemore throwing off his back foot. And what a catch by Bryson Ray! Oh my goodness!
Live from the studios at 33 College View, it's time for the TIm Doup Coaches Show on 97.5 WOBN. Now, here's your host, David Kinder.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the studios of 33 College View. I'm David Kinder for Week 3 edition of the TIm Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5. Thanks for joining us. A lot to get to today. A Week 2 victory over Marietta, dedicating the new turf. We'll preview next week's matchup with Wilmington, and we'll get our in-studio guest's opinion on some other things happening around college football. Our guest today, of course, the namesake of the show, head football coach entering his third year, TIm Doup, and senior outside linebacker from Richwood, Ohio, Zac Hamilton, who had 5 tackles and a sack in the victory over Marietta this past Saturday. And Zac, it looks like you have a little bit of a battle scar there on your chin.
Yeah, it happened on the goal line stand. Dove to make a tackle. My chin strap went into my chin, had to go get stitched up, but got cleared, came back, and it was a good win.
What a trooper. Went back on the field and is joining us here in studio for the show as well. As we said, Otterbein gets the homecoming victory 20-0, first game on the new turf, and I had a chance to walk on that turf the day before the game. I saw a whole lot of rubber pellets out on that field, so I know it had to hurt to get tackled a couple times. But Zac, huge crowd at Memorial Stadium, close to 5,000 fans in the seats on the brand new turf. You get the victory. You had to feel nice to go out there and dedicate the field with a win, and the way you guys did it.
Yeah, it was real nice to see a lot of the alumni coming back, former players, just the fans coming out and seeing us work hard and get a hard-fought victory. I talked to a couple people, said it was their first game in 25 years. It was just nice to dedicate it with a win.
As we said, Otterbein picks up the 20-0 victory over the Pioneers from Marietta. They advanced to 1-1 on the season. Coach, the defense was impressive in this one. Held them to under 300 yards of total offense. Marietta ran 5 plays inside the 2-yard line in the first quarter, and they were denied points. A huge goal line stand, 7 sacks from your defensive unit in this game, and of course they intercepted 2 huge passes. The first shutout since week 1 of the 2012 season. And during the game, I said that was my first broadcast ever. And then after the broadcast, I got to thinking, well, that was your first game as a head coach as well. You had to be real impressed with the total team effort and very pleased with how the defense went from week 1, giving up a lot of points, to week 2 to pitching the shutout.
Oh, they did a great job. When we put them, offensively, we put them in a bad spot on that goal line stand. We fumbled the ball on the second play of the game, and they had a very short field to go, and I think we even called a timeout before that, and I normally don't say much, but I did come out of the huddle, and I told the defense, you need to step it up right here, do your job, and, make this goal line stand, and they did a heck of a job. I mean, I couldn't ask for, a better thing, and I think it gave them confidence there that, we were pinned up a little bit, but that, sort of the bend but don't break. I don't like to say it that way, but, unfortunately they were put in a bad spot, and they did a great job coming through for us.
Zac, the defense seemed to be in the backfield almost the entire game. Lucas Havens, the starting quarterback for the Pioneers, went down 7 times in the game. As we said, you had one of those sacks. What was the key to the defense's success in the Week 2 victory?
I think we've just been preaching it all camp and all season. We have to get out of the after the quarterback, get pressure, get turnovers for our offense, and we just kept rotating guys in. I think there's 6 or 7 guys that come in at any time on our defensive line, staying fresh, and the freshman Blues had a heck of a game, 2.5 sacks. He just had a motor the whole time, and we just kind of all followed suit.
We talked about the goal line stand in the first quarter. Marietta had a chance to take an early touchdown lead over you guys. The Pioneers take over, ball on the 2-yard line. They end up running 5 plays less than 24 inches away from the goal line because of a substitution penalty. But as Coach Doup said, you bend but didn't break, and they ran it every single play. So every single time they tried to run it up the middle, around the end, and they didn't get them in. You had the tackle on 3rd down to stop them. Was there anything special that Coach Doup or defensive coordinator Alan Moore called, or that you guys saw on the field that helped you prevent them from crossing it over the goal line only 2 yards out?
I think we just knew that they were a running team and we're going to try to run the ball. They're bread and butter down at the goal line, and we just all knew our assignment and our job, and we just went, 100% to make sure, we had each other's back, and we came out successful, so it was nice.
After that turnover on downs near the 1 yard line, it felt like a lot of the momentum in the game started to change to your guys' side. Did you get that feeling too?
Yeah, I did. I knew as soon as we got that goal line stand that we were going to have, a lot of success. Our confidence was, skyrocketed. And I just told Brick as I was running off, I'm going to just drive down the field. Just go put points on the board, and we'll keep them out.
Near the end of the game, we said it was the first shutout since the season opener against Gallaudet in 2012, but it looked like Marietta might end the shutout with less than 5 minutes to go in the game. It was basically over, but they had the ball at the 13-yard lines. Havens threw across the middle. I'm not sure who he was looking for because nobody was around except for Jordan Boniface, who intercepted it, returned it 86 yards all the way to the 11-yard line. You had to be excited when you saw Boniface got the interception and you guys were going to get the shutout.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling when usually it's the offense that wins the game for you, goes on that drive at the end. But seeing Jordan get that interception, we just knew it was over and knew that we had won. So it was a great feeling to see that the defense step up and make that play.
Lastly, on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, I know there were a lot of injuries in this game. One of the ones that stuck out is we saw Ty Compton be pulled in the second half. It looked like he had maybe an eye injury, and he had to come out of the game. Any update on what his injury was and if he'll be returning for action Saturday?
Yeah, he came off the field, and the first thing I said, "Are you good?" And he said, "Yeah, I just got poked in the eye." So he got poked, and I'm sure there were some pellets involved there too when he went down. But as of right now, no, he's good to go. He's ready to go again.
Good to hear. The defense was great. The offense was equally as good. 360 yards of total offense, 22 first downs overall. Brick Davis, I thought, played very well. He was 19 of 27, 177 yards, a touchdown to Chad McCray. Really should have had 2 touchdowns. Aaron Thompson dropped one in the end zone. But overall, you had to be very pleased with the way your senior quarterback managed the game and played.
Oh, he did a great job. The thing with Brick is he gets very frustrated when things aren't, coming in fast enough and things like that because he's a field general. I mean, he's what we need out there. And there were times our headphones were clicking in and out and we couldn't get the calls in fast enough. And it's good for when he gets frustrated and he gets mad because I know, what's going through his head. So, but no, he did a great job managing the game again. Like I said, I mean, he even showed some speed. Brick's a little bit faster now than he was when he was a sophomore. The way he weaved through there for that touchdown running, and he just managed the game very well, and that's what he needs to do, and just be consistent for us to be successful.
Statistically, he had a very good game. Anything nitpicky that you saw that you didn't like that you're going to work on and practice with him?
Yeah, he needs to know what a 4-2 box is. He kept trying to run the ball, and he knows our number one rule with a 4-2 box is, hey, we're a little outnumbered here. But I think he was just getting excited. But we'll work on that for this week, obviously.
We talked a lot in the first 2 episodes about the offensive line. Offensive line only allowed 1 sack the entire game, almost 200 yards rushing overall. A lot of that's the credit to the 5 guys up front. Overall, what grade would you give your O-line?
I think we made improvements, and that's what you got to see from week 1 to week 2. And I'm a hard grader, so I think they were, a C or even below. I'd probably say this week, they raised up maybe to a B minus. There's a lot of things we still have to work on, but hopefully with time, we're still playing with some guys in there who've never played varsity before, and we're still trying to figure some things out. But they did a much better job, and they're going to have to do, an even better job this week. But if we can continue up front to keep doing that and be able to run the football, I think we'll be real successful.
After you've seen some film, any one of the 5 stand out in particular for their performance Saturday?
It's they all do great things, and then all of a sudden one of them will do have a bonehead play. But I think they all just played within themselves, and not really. I think there's just so much that we still need to work on. I don't think week to week, none of them, really stand out. They just do their job, and that's what I ask them to do. I really don't want individuals. I just want them to perform as a group.
Can't talk about how well the offense have played without mentioning the fact that there were 4 fumbles in the game, and all 4 of them were lost and turned over towards the defense. Any reason that you saw the backs had a struggle for holding on to the football, and what needs to change in this week's practice going into Wilmington?
And it's unfortunate, just ball security. We've got to get better with keeping that ball tighter. And some of them were flukes, to be honest. I mean, we watched the one on film. Johnny Piles catches a screen, and then just as he's going to tuck it in, it just flips out of his hand. I don't know if he was too sweaty or what, and it just popped in the other guy's hand. And, Brick, the pitch to
Reed.
It was to Reed, if I believe, yes. It was a little high and behind him, so he had to try to use one hand and lost that one. And then, unfortunately, Drew had two. But, we just got to work on ball security. I think that's the biggest thing. And, I felt bad for Drew. He had the first one, the second play of the game, and then, obviously, he's excited to try to dive over top to score, and the helmet went right and hit the ball right as he was diving. It's just opportune time. So, we'll work on that. Dave Smith is a great running back coach, and he'll get that fixed. But, I hope, that's the most disappointing thing offensively was we had 4 fumbles and lost all 4, and that can't happen.
And you mentioned Drew having 2 of them. We didn't see him at all play in the second half of the game. Was that more of a message or more of a reason you just wanted to get some of the other backs like John Piles into the game?
No, I had a heart-to-heart with him after the game. He understood. He's more upset with himself. You fumble twice, we got to go a different direction. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that changes for the next week. It's just during that game, it doesn't matter who it is. If you have 2 fumbles, then, I've got to go with somebody else a little bit.
Yeah, lastly, on the victory over Marietta at homecoming, special teams had a nice day too. Jordan Keaton only had to punt twice, but both went for an average of 40 yards. Alana's 4 for 4 on extra points this year, which is nice to see, and she made both of her field goal attempts, so you have to be pleased with the way special teams played.
Yeah, special teams, we have a goal chart. We hit 8 out of our 10 goals, and if you can do that week to week, you're going to win a lot of games. And, speaking of Alana, I was just in the staff meeting, and our SID, Ed, just told me that she was named Special Teams Player of the Week in the OAC.
Very nice to hear. Great tribute to a senior who was also on homecoming court, so something you don't see too often.
Yeah, it's sort of weird as a head coach that she's out there in her football uniform. And but no, she did a great job.
All right, we'll wrap it up for our preview of looking back at the victory over the Pioneers. As we said, Otterbein gets it done. Week 2, they advanced to 1-1 on the season, 20-0 victory over the Pioneers on homecoming and the season opener at Memorial Stadium. On the new turf, we'll take a quick break, but when we come back, we will look forward to Saturday's opponent and the Wilmington Quakers. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show with David Kinder, Zac Hamilton, and head football coach Tim Doup. Don't go anywhere.
Fewer than 5 out of 100 people give blood. Ever wonder why they do it?
It's the one thing that we can do that we can always afford to do, and hey, you get a snack afterwards. So
snacks are great. I had never knew my blood type, and I found out in doing this that I'm O negative, so there's that added pressure knowing that everyone can use my blood at any time, and so I feel like it's my responsibility.
It's a little extra bragging power, too, knowing that you're a universal giver.
Yeah, I'm pretty special.
Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org to make an appointment today.
Hi, I'm Junior Center Grant Knoppenberger. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. Miss anything from today's episode, you can listen to every show on WOBN's YouTube page.
Hey loser, give me your lunch money.
But I need it to eat today.
Too bad, you little twerp. I'm taking it, and you can't stop me.
Somebody help me! Ouch!
Nobody's gonna help you, loser.
Every day, thousands of children are bullied at school. The worst part is that it can be prevented. Find out what you can do to put an end to bullying by visiting stopbullying.gov. Don't be a bystander. Take action against bullying. Stopbullying.gov.
I used to be one of those irresponsible guys, always goofing off and acting like a real jerk. Girls wouldn't give me the time of day. Hey, Julie, do you have the time?
Shut up.
Then, 30 days before my 18th birthday, I went down to my local post office and registered with Selective Service. Overnight.
I became aware of the man I had suddenly become, eligible for federal student loans, government jobs, and job training, responsible and mature. Hi, Julie. Dinner tonight?
I'd love to, Brad.
So register with Selective Service. It's what a man's gotta do.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do yourself a favor. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's Wireless Companies, and the National Safety Council.
Welcome back to Tim Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. David Kinder, senior linebacker Zac Hamilton, and head football coach Tim Doup in studio. And now we're going to look forward to Saturday's matchup with the Wilmington Quakers. You can listen to that game if you can't make it right here on 97.5 WOBN. Game will start at 7 underneath the lights, and you can tune in for the pregame show starting at 6:30. Well, Coach, Wilmington comes into the game with a 15-game losing streak. They're 0-2 on the season with losses to Olivet and Capital. I know you said you don't like to focus on opponents' records and rankings, but it's got to be hard to ignore the fact that they've been so poor in the past few seasons. What do you remember from last year when you played Wilmington and from watching any film this year that sticks out to you about the Quakers?
You know, I think right now they're on the verge of something very good. You know, they've got some guys that they've got some transfers in now, and they've got some athletes running around. And if it's any indication, like I said, the Olivet game, you know, got out of hand a little bit too early. But like I said, the Capital game, what we've watched, they went toe-to-toe with them and you know, had every opportunity to beat them. So, and they've got a very good receiver in Duncan, who was the OAC receiver of the year, you know, last year, and they're still trying to work on quarterback and things like that. And they got an all-conference linebacker back also. So, you know, I still think they're trying to find their identity a little bit on what they're trying to do. But, you know, they've got some nice athletes, and they're going to be a good opponent.
Zach, we mentioned 7-game winning streak over Wilmington. So, obviously, in your career, you've never lost to the Quakers. You've seen them 3 times as a senior. What do you remember about last year's game and previous year's games that you'll use to the Saturday's game in your advantage?
I think just knowing that you can't take any game for granted. They play us tough every year. The score may be that we've won every game in the past 7 years, but, you know, they bring intensity. I remember 2 years ago, they were fired up to play us as a night game just like this upcoming game is at Wilmington. They brought a lot of fight and a lot of spirit, and so we just can't overlook that, and we just have to play Otterbein football.
While they're 2-0 on this season, a lot of that has to do with their defense. Their offense has had a lot of success. They've scored over 20 points in both games and are averaging well over 400 yards of total offense in both games. Defensively, what can we expect to see from the Cardinals, and anything different from Week 1 and Week 2?
We're just going to have to stick to what we've been doing so far. We have to start with shutting down the run and then get them in predictable situations, and then we can start getting after the quarterback like we have been and force some turnovers and let our offense do work from there.
Speaking of that quarterback, running out there for the green and white will be Austin Jarbrough. In his Week 1 matchup, he threw for 3 touchdowns, rushed for 150, so he's really a dual-threat kind of guy. He rushed for another touchdown last week and threw for 1, so he's a guy that can beat you with his legs and with his arms. What kind of challenges does that bring, especially for a linebacker and more in general for a defense when you have a quarterback who can both run it and throw it?
That makes it really hard because you have to do everything right. Not only do you have to have your coverage perfect, you have to have your rush perfect. You have to stay in your lanes. You have to be disciplined, and everyone has to do their job because quarterbacks like that will pick on 1 out of the 11 players and can make a play with his arm or legs.
Coach, after coaching against them 2 previous times, preparing for this game, what holes in their defense do you think that your offense could exploit?
Well, you know, they do some things. They run a lot of man coverage, and you know, sometimes if they can't keep up with your receivers, then obviously, you know, you think you could have a couple receivers shake their DBs. You know, we have had some success rushing the football. You know, we've got to get better and try to run the ball to set up the pass. I think we've proven here that we're a little bit better of a running team than we have been the last couple of years. But you know, to do that, you've really got to focus, try to exploit their bubbles in their defense, whether that's 2-play calling things and let, you know, Brick look, what are they giving us, go the opposite way, which he does a good job. or just giving him two totally different play calls and whichever one he wants to go with, which looks better to him. And you can exploit defenses that way.
You mentioned thinking you have an advantage possibly over the cornerbacks. In the Week 2 win over Marietta, we only saw Brick Davis throw down the field more than 20 yards twice. Do you think we could see more long balls in this game with Wilmington and try to air it out a little bit more deeper down the field?
Maybe. It just, like I said, we're a type of offense right now. We're just trying to take what they give us. We're not just going to chuck the ball up. Not that we can't go deep, but I do as a coach. And maybe I need to talk to Coach D'Amico a little bit more because he's been calling a little bit more. I like to throw the ball downfield. I think he's more of a little bit more conservative and tries to make sure our quarterback stays in a rhythm. But I'm all about maybe we need to take some more shots.
You mentioned Coach D'Amico calling some more plays this year. How is it that you guys divide up the play calling duty? Who gets to call the plays and in what situations?
It's really crazy right now because I've pretty much turned it over to him. I told him at the beginning of the season he did a great job in the spring, and I wanted to give him some more freedom, and it gives me a chance to sit back and do some other things. And he's doing a good job. So I'm more or less a little bit more eyes from the other end, and it's different for me. But obviously I chime in when I need to because I have the same game plan in front of me than he does. So I can override him at any time, but he's doing a great job. I think it's just it's a little different from me.
We've talked a little bit about the different combination of running backs. We saw Drew Irvin go in the first half. John Piles, who had a touchdown that was called back for a questionable holding call on Ryan Toombs. I had a chance to talk with him about that, and he was certainly upset thinking he had his first collegiate touchdown, and so did I. What combinations of running back can we expect to see in Wilmington? Are we going to see those three guys, maybe a different guy mixed into the bunch, or is there one you want to stick with?
Well, right now, we got four good running backs. Speedy came in. Speedy Hammond came in and gave us a whole different look with the way he shakes and moves. And, John Piles is just Mr. Reliable. There's not nothing, he knows the offense inside and out. He can do a lot of things. So, trying to get him the ball a little bit more. Reed, and then obviously Drew, he told me after the game, he's like, Coach, I'm just in a funk. And I said, well, we got to figure out a way to get you out of this funk. He's just very upset with himself right now. So, but he'll bounce back. But any one of those four, I feel comfortable with any one of those four in the backfield right now. And, I think we rushed for 183 yards, and you distribute amongst all those guys. You bring in fresh legs. Gives defenses problems. Otterbein
among the top of the OAC right now in total offense, thanks in part to that 20-0 victory over Marietta. Well, that's going to do it for our preview of Wilmington. We'll take our second break. When we come back, though, we'll get Zach and Coach's opinions on some of the greatest football players of all time at their respective positions. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. We'll be right back.
Football is a sport that unites fans, players, and coaches alike in a spirit of competition and camaraderie. Football season has come to our area, and while you're watching a game with friends or sharing in the excitement with family, be sure to celebrate responsibly. Never pick up the keys and drive if you've had too much to drink. And if you're 21, drinking alcohol is against the law. Remember, alcohol is different. Let's all work together to keep our roads and community safe and have a winning season.
Be sure to log on to WOBN.net for a complete broadcast schedule of music, talk shows, and sports. That's WOBN.net.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day. Football I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Would your business survive a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
Can't make it to one of the football games this year? Well, WOBN has you covered with live broadcast of all 10 football games this year, home and away. Join us 30 minutes before kickoff for pregame and stay with us long after the final whistle for analysis and updates on what else happened in college football. It's all right here on 97.5 WOBN and streaming live anywhere in the world on WOBN.net. Welcome back to the TIm Doup Coaches Show from the studios of 97.5 WOBN, our final segment of today's episode. And we're going to get a little opinion from Zac and Coach and ask them who they think their greatest player at their respective positions when they played is in the history of football. So we're going back 150 years to now. Who you think the greatest to ever play that position was for whatever personal reasons. And also who you think your favorite is right now playing it in the NFL. Coach, we'll start with you. You were a center here at Otterbein back in the late 80s, early 90s, a captain of the football team your senior year. You have a lot of experience with offensive linemen, still coach them to this day, so I know you have to keep a keen eye on linemen, and I know you've grown up watching them your entire life. So in your humble opinion, the greatest to ever play the offensive line position in the sport of football is?
Anthony Munoz.
Anthony Munoz, the only Bengal in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely a stud.
And what reasons?
Just domination. I mean, absolute domination. I've never seen an offensive lineman be able to do what he could do. He was so much fun to watch because it was almost like people were scared of him.
Did you grow up a Bengals fan? Or?
No,
not
at all. I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan, but Anthony Munoz is by far who I think is the best offensive lineman ever.
He's the only Bengal in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and obviously an All-American when he was at USC as well. And hopefully he'll have his number retired one day by the Bengals. And we also said who you think the best in the game right now is. Maybe not the best, but at least your favorite to watch or that you really enjoy watching play.
There's actually two of them, and they're related. They're twins. I like the Pounceys.
Okay.
They get after it. I mean, I
centers.
Like centers. They're nasty. They're mean. So I like watching them. They really get after it.
And Zac, moving on to you now. Obviously a linebacker. You've played the position for a long time, 4 years here at Otterbein, of course, 4 years of high school, and who knows how long going back into the Pee-wees and all that. So I'm sure you've watched football for a long time now. You've watched the linebacker position, especially with a keen eye. So obviously you haven't been around as long as Coach Doup, so you probably don't remember watching guys like Anthony Munoz play. But as far as you know, and from the history you know of the game, the greatest linebacker to ever play football.
As much as I don't want to say it, I'm going to say Brian Urlacher.
Okay.
He played the game exactly how it's supposed to be played. He was another defensive coordinator on the field, and he was always around the ball for his whole career. So I really think he was, at least one of the best, if not the best.
As a Packer fan, it hurts me to agree with you a little bit, but he was a tremendous linebacker for the Bears and really anchored their defense for a while, and it was sad to see when he finally did retire 2 years ago. Well, he's out of the league now, so of the guys on a current active roster of the 32 NFL teams, who's your favorite to watch on Sundays that you get excited knowing he's going to have a great game?
Well, also being a Packers fan and being an outside linebacker, Clay Matthews is just one of the most exciting players in football. He can do it all. He can read like a linebacker and react. He can be in the pass game, and he's always getting after the quarterback.
Another USC guy, just like Coach Doup, like a walk-on at USC, actually, and been with the Packers for a while now. And, of course, A.J. Hawk, a member of the Packers, too. If I had to give my opinion, I might be a little biased being an Ohio State fan, but for linemen, I might say the inventor of the pancake block, Orlando Pace, big number 75, helped block for Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, the greatest show on turf, and then, of course, was a two-time All-American Lombardi and Outland winner at Ohio State and blocked for Joe Germain and Eddie George and won the Rose Bowl in '96. So he might get my nod for greatest O-lineman all of time.
I'll go with that one.
There's some other guys. There's Chuck Bednarik's in there and other guys like that, but I'm nominating him. And then maybe for linebacker, you mentioned in the break when I was telling you what the question was going to be, you didn't get to see the old school days of down dirty defense. I might say Ray Nitschke, another Packer, a middle linebacker, number 66, who wore the big cage face mask and was one of the most physical guys to ever play the game. So that is Coach Daup's Zac Hamilton's and my opinions on the greatest NFL players at our respective positions. I played guard in high school, so I'm going to go with Orlando Pace, even though he was a tackle. Well, that's going to do it for the TIm Doup Coaches Show Week 3 edition. We thank everyone for tuning in. If you missed anything from today's episode, you can listen to it anytime on WOBN's YouTube page. And remember to tune in to Saturday's football game from Wilmington, Ohio at 7 o'clock. The pregame show will be at 6:30. For Coach Doup, Zac Hamilton, this is David Kinder signing off for WOBN Sports. Till next time.